Hi guys. Hey, that's my boot. I'm gonna need that later. So we moved the pigs out on pasture yesterday. This is our first batch this year, and they were in the barn much longer than I wanted. It was over a week, almost 2 or about 2 weeks, and really only need to be in there for electric fence training for about 3 days, maybe 4. They figure out the electric fence pretty quickly, but I didn't feel like I could move them out here because of the temperatures. The temperatures were, the highs were in the 40s and lows were in the 20s, and pigs don't have a lot of fur to keep them warm, so I opted for them to stay in the barn until it warmed up. And even still, I didn't want them to get cold at night. It froze last night, but I built a pig shelter. I came out last night after dark, and some of them were still exploring and figuring out the feeder, but most of them were in the pig shelter, so that made me happy. They get in there, they can stay out of the rain. We're supposed to have a couple of days of rain coming up, and they can stay out of the wind and huddle together, keep warm at night. So let's look at the pig shelter. Hey, 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 piggies, 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 piggies. So here's the pig shelter. It's very basic. It's a box, and I was designing a pitched roof for it, and then I remembered the wisdom of Joel Salatin that no matter where you set it out in the field, it's going to be pitched one way or the other. But you can see they were in there last night. I might throw in some bedding just to help keep them warm, because it was only supposed to get down to what, 30, 38 last night, but there was frost on the ground this morning, so I know it was colder than that here. But it's got plywood with metal siding over the top of it to keep the wind and the rain out. And they all huddle if they huddle together, being that there's 20 of them, they'll stay pretty warm. So I'm happy with the way this turned out. I now wish I'd made it just a touch bigger, but they get to huddle better that way. So I'll put some bedding in this. Later today, I've got to go move cows. This is only our second year raising hogs. I was around them as a kid, but all of my adult life farming, we never did hogs. And especially we didn't do them out on pasture. Most commercial hogs are raised in a barn their whole life on concrete floors. And you can see what they're doing over here. They're excavating. And they aren't digging just to dig, although that does sometimes occur. They're looking for things that make them more healthy. You can see some of them are chewing. They're finding roots and grubs and plants and stuff that have been down there pickling for the last year that they need, their body requires. It's nutrition for them. After selling our last batch of hogs, I've had many people tell me that, I remember one person in particular goes, "I don't know what you did to that pork, but it's the best pork I've ever eaten." And I pondered that, And I suspect it is probably a combination of two things. One is what they're doing here. They're happy, they're getting green feed, you know, the grass, and later on in the year there'll be broadleaf, and they really like to eat the broadleaf weeds and the grubs and the bugs and stuff that they wouldn't get in the barn. And the other is the lack of stress. These pigs are on a 1/4 acre right now, and they're not packed together. They don't have to compete for food. They don't have to compete for water. They don't have to compete for a place to lay down. They're not stressed, and they're occupied. I had an issue with tail chewing while they were in the barn. There's just one pig in particular that several of the other piglets were chewing his tail. And I started doing research on why this happens. And there's a lot of different reasons, but one of the main reasons why this happens is boredom. Now our barn that they're in, and the only way this works with electric fence training is it's got a natural dirt floor. So when I plug in the fence charger to the electric fence, it just automatically grounds out through the dirt, and they learn really well. Well, they get to root around in the barn, so I knew that that wasn't the case. But in most commercial pig operations, when they say that tail chewing occurs, in fact they'll dock their tails to help prevent that. But one of the cures for tail chewing in a commercial barn situation is to introduce straw. Well, the straw is only to give the pigs something to do so they're not bored, and maybe they'll quit chewing on each other. And it just reaffirmed what we're doing here is right. Having them outside where they're not bored, where they get to be pigs and root around in the ground and find little piggy things to do and eat things that they wouldn't normally get in the barn. Last year I was hand feeding one of them grasshoppers, and he thought that was a pretty good deal. So we're going to end this video here. We'll I'm sure do other videos as we get further along. Maybe we'll do a pig moving video, because you know that's always entertaining for somebody that's not moving the pigs. They have no clue what to do when you first start moving them. We learned a lot last year, so we'll see we'll see if we can use that knowledge from last year to work for moving pigs this year. But we're going to end this video today. And this is Dan at Blue Dog Farms, head cowologist and chief pig chaser. And you have a blessed day.